What's going on, guys? How are we doing? Another day. What is today? I don't even know what day today is. Today's Tuesday. Still dealing with the hurricane business. Gonna get out of here later today. So, like I thought, it became a Cat 5. And right now, as of right now, this is Tuesday morning. It dropped down to Cat 4. And it's like, I think this clip, which is Dennis Phillips, which I talked about in the last video, he's going to talk about doing the eye wall replacement or whatever, where it like weakens, but it may get stronger, but it may not. So it may, but once it hits the wind shear, which is what all of this is kind of banking on, is that it hits that wind shear, which is going to make it slow down and also weaken quickly. It's still going to be a major storm when it hits. We just hope it's a 3 instead of a 4. It probably won't be a 2. It'll probably be a 3. So 125 mile an hour winds, gusts, right? This is not sustained. It's just gusts. That's where it is right now. I think it's just passing the Yucatan right now, something like that. Or it's like right over it. There's gas. Places refilled with gas overnight. So places have gas. It'll run out, but that's what it is. Most of the traffic, because people talk about traffic, most of the traffic, frankly, is not where I'm at. It's in Tampa and Sarasota. Like up there, because I looked yesterday, it's like a wreck. It's a wreck. I literally just had a friend whose sister-in-law lives in Tampa and they live in Georgia. The sister-in-law family drove up last night. He literally just said it took like seven or hours longer than usual, quote unquote. So there's some grammar issues right there. It took like 7 or hours longer than usual. It took longer than usual, basically. It took hours longer. The traffic up there looked really bad. Really bad. Down here, it's not going to be a problem. I can leave tomorrow morning if I wanted to. It would not be a big deal. If I leave tomorrow morning by 9 o'clock, the winds aren't even going to be, the winds are going to be like 30 mile an hour gusts. We're not even talking about sustained winds yet. We're talking about just gusts. Again, living in the desert, that's like normal. That's kind of, that's it's not great, but like it's always windy out there. So it's just, everybody's thing is different. Some people get so freaking scared. Like they get so scared, they get so freaked out. And it's just like, well, just don't freak out and be smart. Like prepare and be smart. Don't freak out. Chill out. All right. Let's get into this video.
We begin tonight with the very latest on Hurricane Milton's track with Chief Meteorologist Dennis Phillips. Dennis?
All right, this is the man right here.
When we look at the updates, the new tracks come out every 6 hours. So we just had one. We'll have another one at 5 a.m.
Also, this was from 8 hours ago.
No changes to our warnings.
Right?
We still have a hurricane warning in effect for the entire area. And that includes our inland counties. I don't want to forget that because we often talk about coastal areas, especially when we're talking surge. We always talk about coastal areas. But this storm, this hurricane is going to cut right across the state.
And the winds are going to hit everybody.
Very close to Orlando as well.
Yeah.
So they are going to have hurricane conditions in Orlando. And I say that because there's a lot of people that are going to evacuate to Orlando. And you're still going to get some pretty nasty conditions there, not like Tampa, of course, or wherever landfall occurs. And there's also that storm surge warning in effect as well along coastal areas. So let's look at the latest. Storm surge, this is always the real catastrophic area of damage because you simply cannot do anything about the water. The wind can be more isolated. The wind can be scattered. But when this water comes in, there's not a thing you can do about it. And a surge of 10 to 15 feet. Now, this is worst case scenario. By definition, when the Hurricane Center sends out these numbers, these are the worst that they can be. And I think that makes sense. They kind of want to give everybody the look. All right, well, this is the bad, over there, the worst it can be. So we can decide what we want to do based on that worst case scenario. It makes a lot of sense.
This would be their worst storm in 100 years if it hits Tampa.
That is what you at least can plan on when you're making your decision on whether or not to evacuate or not, which a lot of places are under mandatory evacuations. So earlier on tonight, we had that pinhole eye wall. And then look right there. Got kind of cloudy right there. Now, what does that mean? It means it's weakening, but not really in the way that we want it to. Winds at 165. It's down to 165. It's moving east at 9. The pressure's up 15 millibars in the last hour. That's huge. I mean, that is weakening. But what's happening is a second eye wall is forming. We call it an eye wall replacement cycle. And all that means is that the storm is expanding. It's getting a little bit bigger, which is not what we want. Now, the good news is it does weaken when that happens. And sometimes it never recovers. So that is a plus.
This probably won't happen.
The other times it gets larger and it still redevelops its strength. So over the next 12 hours, we'll see how that plays out. In the next 18 to 24, it's going to start feeling the tug of a trough, a front off to our north. And
okay, so this right here shows it going basically through St. Pete, like right into Tampa Bay, like right into it. But I saw a track this morning that put it at that just slightly south of that area again, right? They've been like kind of teetering between the two. I mean, obviously it could do anything and we'll know more as it gets closer. But if they just showed it this morning that, it may be going more towards like over Siesta Key, through Sarasota, North Sarasota, Bradenton type of area, they may luck out on the surge. They may. And then like Venice, Sarasota, Venice, Inglewood are going to get just swamped with it. And then Charlotte Harbor will be slightly worse than if it goes to Tampa, right? So, I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible with this, obviously. We'll see. They may luck out.
And this is the new track. Now, I will tell you, looking at the Zero-Z spaghetti models, and several of them have trended a little bit to the south. Well, look at the margin of error, the cone of uncertainty. It's all the way down to Fort Myers, and it's up to Levy County. So let's recap. Charlie, Ian, Irma.
Right.
All of them
is why,
went on the right side of that cone. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but what I'm saying is just don't fixate on the center line in terms of where the ultimate track is.
Right. And if that happens, it's going to happen like Charlie, like 6 hours before it makes landfall. It's good. That's why I was like, you know what? This is too close for comfort. I'll get out. Because if that happens, that's bad for me. Right. But if it goes where it says it's going to go, I believe we're totally fine. We're pretty much fine. Right. But if it doesn't, that's why I was like, you know what? I don't need to chance. I have other options. I don't need to chance that. So I'll take the other options. Let's do that.
But when it comes to the damage, you do focus on that center line because most of the damage in terms of the highest surge and the strongest winds will be right along that line. Now, whether that line is there or there or there or there, we'll have to wait and see. We all know there are wobbles, there are turns. It's just what happens with these systems. But my point is, with the wind damage, the majority of the strongest winds, and by then expected to be about 125, 120, will be within 5 to 10 miles of that center. Now, right now, hurricane winds only extend 30 miles out. It's still a small storm. We think by then, hurricane winds might be 45 to 50. Other parts of the area will certainly get a lot of wind, but I'm telling you, right around that center line is where most of the wind is going to be.
That's not that bad,
the
actually.
rain, anywhere from 4 to 8 inches
wind
of rain.
Gusts, 80
so by tomorrow night, we start to see hurricane
50,
gusts
so
along
I'm
the
going
coast.
to get like
and then
50
as
to 60,
the eye comes through,
which is what
we look for
Helene
winds of
was
65 to
me.
85 miles an hour. Yes, that is
here
significant
for that.
winds,
Not a
much
big
like
deal.
what we had with Irma. But when we see 180 out there today, and we hear Cat 4, again, those numbers exist in a very small part of that storm. So talking about landfall, I think the same wind will be in a very small part of the storm. And most of us will get strong tropical storm to mid-size hurricane force winds.
Look at that. Okay, so even that, it's like probability of tropical storm winds. That's just tropical storm winds. That's not hurricane winds. Is that accurate in how I'm seeing that? How I'm thinking about that?
But unfortunately, there will be a few spots, and it might only be 5 miles wide, but there are going to be some spots that are going to get those severe winds. And that ultimately depends on where that eye crosses.
Yep.
So if you look at tomorrow afternoon, rather Wednesday afternoon, we start to see a little bit heavier wind coming in.
And again, they keep pushing it back. So if this happens, I'm barely going to get that 58 to 75, that's 60 to 75, like barely. If it goes more south, that's obviously bad. But yeah.
Hurricane force winds start to come in around 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Wednesday night, tomorrow.
Woo! 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 Everybody that lives in Tampa, look at that right there. Oh, man, that looks bad. That looks very bad. Oh, God. I mean, I was through Ian. That literally happened to me during Ian. Literally. My house was that center Tampa right there. Like, that was my house during Ian. Woo! Oh, boy. I wasn't here for it. So, it's a different type of anxiety. Like you're safe, physically safe, but you just are like, my stuff, my house, my house. I actually moved a lot of my stuff. As you see, I moved my amps already. My amps are not in the building. They're not in the building. So all important things, not even in the building, right? I'm like, nah, just get it all out of here. I don't need that. So, I have that option, that luxury, if you will, it's because I have family here. If you don't have family here, if it was just us, obviously it would have to stay. I would just put it up as high as possible because of water, right? And, I'd put it on couches, I'd put it on desks, tables, everything. And get out. I have a friend, a local who's here, who I play with, he went to Miami. He's not bringing all his stuff with him. He just brought his mama's dog, So it's like, if that's your option, you got to just do the best that you can. The more options you have, the more, it's better for you, obviously. Anyways.
Tomorrow will be fine. And then Wednesday night, Thursday morning, we begin to see this race across the state.
Yeah. He said tomorrow will be fine, which is today. And he's right. It's actually kind of right. I was outside already today, this morning, loading up the truck, just doing some final things outside the house. And the neighbor just mowed her lawn. It's only partly cloudy. It's like there's actually sun, which I'm thinking is really good. And down here, it didn't rain at all yesterday. So I'm hoping the ground will dry a little bit, because even this morning, as I'm walking around the house, squish, 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 squish. The ground is so wet still. That's going to be a big problem for a lot of people everywhere up and down the state right now. That's going to be a major problem. I already am thinking about different areas near me that very well could have house flooding because of rainwater, not because of surge, because of rainwater just piling up on the ground because it's got nowhere to go. It's got nowhere else to go. So, yeah. Yes, that's a little chair. That's my kid's chair. He's actually kind of too big for it now. But anyways, yeah, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully it stays on the track that it's staying on, and Tampa finally gets its due. Oh, I didn't say that. It always comes here, guys. It always comes here, right? Everybody, all these locals talk about, they say it's going to Tampa. We already know we're getting it. We're screwed. It's like, and even Dennis Phillips last night in his DPL, he was real. I've never heard him like that since I've been watching him, since I've lived here. I've never heard him like that. He truly believes it's going, and he lives there. He lives in the Tampa Bay area. He really believes it's going there. He's like, it's time. We've been saying it forever. We haven't had a big one in this area in 100 years, and we're due. That's kind of like when I was in California last month, and I was talking to my friends, and they were talking about the spat of earthquakes that have been happening. And they're both like, one of them is from California, another is just a musician that, he's been there for decades now, but he's not from there. But even the cat that was from there was like, yeah, we're due. It's been a long time since we've had a major earthquake. And just that's what happens. And of course, I watched this other clip that I was going to do a reaction to, and it was CNN. And it's where I don't know if you guys have seen it, where the meteorologist starts crying And the majority of it was all on climate change. It wasn't on what you can do to help your save yourself now. It wasn't on any of that. It was mostly on climate change. And I was like, if I react to this, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get in trouble. So I better not, because I really don't want to bring that stuff on the channel. I don't. I know that, as you can see, I'm trying to kind of try different things and steer slightly different directions in the videos and the content. But I am not going to start doing political stuff. My wife doesn't want me to. So there's that. And I agree, for reasons that I fully understand, and agree with. And also, it's not positive. It's not positive. I feel like already there's enough, you like me or you don't type of animosity or whatever, where it's like, okay, I don't need that. That doesn't help anything. Yeah, I decided to just watch this one because this is at least a local guy and he lives there, and he, it'll be interesting. We'll see what happens. We'll survive. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. That's what it is. I mean, it won't be fine for some people. For some people, it'll be super, really, really hard. Sarasota, everybody's talking about Tampa Bay right now, but Sarasota got wrecked in Helene. Like, they got areas flooded there that have not flooded before. That's going to happen again. Like, it's going to. Like, Sarasota, I think definitely, regardless of if this goes slightly south or slightly north or whatever, I think Sarasota is going to get walloped. Just everything that this is showing, Sarasota is going to get walloped. Which, that sucks. That really sucks. So, no fun. All right. I don't know. I still, again, I didn't have a ton of time to kind of preload my schedule. So my last video scheduled as of right now is Sunday. The end of this Yes shows ends on Sunday. So I hope that I can get back in here Thursday. We have power and I can get back to work. That's what I'd like. Work over the weekend or whatever. That's what I'd like. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, stay safe. I'll talk to you guys later.